Welcome, everyone. I am Zora Stevenson, the team reporter, and we're all so excited. This is an amazing, amazing day, both for the Bucks. It's an exciting day, right? For the Bucks franchise and for Bucks fans everywhere. We appreciate everyone that is here in person, including some of the players, coaches, but also our entire Bucks staff is in the back. So we're so glad that you all are here. I also want to acknowledge everyone that's watching online, right? The Bucks app, Bucks.com, and of course live on Bally Sports Wisconsin. Before we get started, one quick house rule. If everyone can make sure that their phones are on silent. We don't want any rings going on as Coach Griffin is explaining all the new schemes and strategies that he's got in mind for the Milwaukee Bucks. The man that led the search for the new head coach is General Manager John Horst. So John, take it away.
Thanks, Zora. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. Unbelievable turnout. Thanks to the Bucks staff for being here. I want to start by thanking Wes Edens, Jamie Dinan, Dee and Jimmy Haslam, Peter Fagan, and really the entire Bucks staff for running a great process. Your support and efforts through this were incredible. Kathy, congratulations. Thank you for being here. Adrian's wife. You all get to know her going forward. Spencer Breeker, I don't see you. Spencer, Adrian's agent, thank you for all your help with this. We opened this a few weeks ago. We said we were going to run a great process. And through extensive background and reference work, we did advanced analytics on coaching profiles and stat profiles. We really spent a ton of time in an interview process of which we targeted 20 or so folks to start, conducted 15 or so first-round interviews, reduced it down to a group of 6 or so people for second-round interviews, and ultimately a finalist group that met with our ownership, met with folks from the business side on the Bucks, the performance group, our players, and ultimately our ownership. And we all landed on Adrian Griffin as being the candidate that we recommended to take this job. And so, with his character, his leadership presence, his varied experiences working for great coaches over the past 15 years in the NBA, almost a decade worth of playing experience, playing with great players, playing for great coaches, it was clear to us that Adrian was the right hire. So without further ado, it's my absolute honor to introduce Adrian Griffin as a head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Thank you, John. I'm super excited about the opportunity. I've waited a long time for this, so I'm just excited to get to work. I definitely don't want to miss anything, so I want to start with ownership. I want to thank Wes Eden, Dee and Jimmy Haslam, Jamie Dinan, John Horst and his entire staff, Peter Fagan. Thank you so much for entrusting me with this incredible opportunity, and I hope I don't let you down. Next, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Kathy. She's always encouraged me to never give up on my head coaching dream. She was up with me many nights. And that leads me to my agent, who's probably happy that I got a job now. I can stop calling him at 3 in the morning. Spencer Breeker with CAA, thank you so much for sticking with me. I've been with Spencer for over a decade, so he's been with me through all the highs and the lows. So I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. Definitely want to thank the players that came out and supported me. They've been in the gym. I've been able to connect with a few of those. See Marjon, JC, Joe, and who else is back there? Myers, AJ. The guys are great, so I'm excited to get to work with them. I also want to, just thank the coaches that have poured into my life, that prepared me for this day. It's too many to name, but I do want to name a few. Scott Skiles, who gave me my first job, actually right here in Milwaukee 15 years ago. He saw something in me that he thought would make a good coach, and he offered me a job on the staff, and so I'm forever grateful for him. Tom Thibodeau, I spent 5 years with him. That was like a basketball clinic, one-on-one. We had a special, Bulls players on that team, Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, Luol Deng, Carlos Boozer, Joe Kim Noah. Really solid, special guys. My 2 years with Billy Donovan was so instrumental to my growth, so I want to thank him. And then my last 5 years with, Nick Nurse and Toronto Raptors, we won a championship together. Nurse and I got our PhD together, so I have a special bond with him. So I just want to thank the Raptors family. But as that door closes, I'm extremely excited for the next chapter of my life, being the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. It's very sentimental for me. Again, this is where I started, and it's funny how life works and everything has come full circle. And again, I want to thank John for entrusting me with it. I don't take this serious. I don't take this. This is not, what's the word I'm looking for? Lightly. So that's my coach right there. I don't take this lightly, you know, and I'm excited to get to work, and we're going to have a lot of fun this year.
Coach, are you ready for your first question as a head coach?
I'm ready.
I promise, I'm coming with the hard-hitting stuff. You mentioned, right, there's so many parts to your story. Undrafted, played it in multiple leagues, and 9 seasons in the NBA, and then your coaching career starts here in Milwaukee. So many steps, and you detailed a little bit, but if you could describe more the magnitude of this moment for you, something that you called a dream to become a head coach in the NBA.
Definitely. Thank you for asking that question. You know, this is something I've prepared for my whole career. I believe, you know, my sister-in-law, she always says preparation time is never wasted time. So, you know, my 15 years of coaching, my 9 years of playing in the NBA, I've played with a lot of great players. I was coached by a lot of Hall of Fame players, and then I just listed the coaches that I've been under. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. You know, my faith is very strong. My father was a minister, and he would always tell me to be faithful over the little things, and God rewards you with a lot more. And I feel like, you know, this has really came to life for me on my journey. And again, it's I believe in, you know, just the preparation that goes into sitting in this seat. And I was just so grateful that I had great mentors. You know, just too many to name, but I'm just extremely appreciative of the path that I've taken. You know, everyone's path is different, but, you know, to wait 15 years for this job, it was worth it.
Coach, we look forward to getting to know you better. John, you mentioned the extensive search, right, and all the different people you all talked to. How did this man right here emerge to the top and make his way as the right person in this moment?
Yeah, you know, first I would say that it was incredible to see the quality of coaches that are in our league through the process. There's just really highly qualified, highly talented coaches out there. And, you know, Milt Newton said throughout this process after we met with Adrian's a head coach, he just hasn't gotten the opportunity yet. And I can say that that's true for some of the people who we didn't choose as well. There are head coaches out there that just haven't gotten the opportunity yet. Specifically to Adrian, he impressed every step of the way. So we had our first through our reference work and our background work, and you literally talk to ushers in arenas. You know, you talk to ex-teammates, you talk to ex-coaches that he's coached with, and everyone was just emphatic about the person that Adrian is, about the work ethic that Adrian has, about his relationship building qualities with players and staff. And then we interview him, and he blew us away in the interview. And then we bring him back for a second interview, and we get into the chalk talk, and we get on the board, and we watch the film, and he blows us away again. Then he meets with our staff, from the front office staff to the medical staff, the business side, players, ownership, and he blows them away again. And then he's in the big moment. You're the guy that gets to go for the final interview with the owners, like, don't mess it up. Right? And he did great again. And so there's a lot more detail to it than that, probably, but at a high level, he's just impressed every step of the way, both in person and then the environment around him.
Thank you for that, John. It's all that preparation, Coach, right? Preparing you for the moment. We will now open it up to questions from the media. Send microphones around. We're going to start with Jim Ozarski, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
Adrian, welcome. Congrats.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can have a plan to meet a standard, but like, how do you try to reach that this year when you have a team that is coming off a 58-win season, has won 70% of its games? What are you bringing here, and how do you see that? Is there improvement, or you know, going beyond that, what's already been set?
That's a great question, Jim. So one of the things that we spoke about in our first interview was, look, the foundation has already been laid. It's a strong culture. We have special talent on this team. So this wasn't something where I was coming in to uproot everything. Actually, it was just to build, and I think with my 25 years of experience in the NBA, I can add great value, to the team and just bring in my experiences as a player and as a coach. So to answer your question, this is a tremendous opportunity, right? I'm coming in with some special talent on this team. And yes, we have, high expectations, but we're going to embrace them, but it starts by getting to work, never lose sight of the work involved. I think going undrafted and going the minor league route, it taught me the value of hard work. And that's what we're going to, build upon from day one.
Eric, name of The Athletic, right in front. Hey. Eric, nice to meet you. I guess, John, for you, just kind of how important was Giannis's input in this process? And then Adrian, I know in the process you got to meet Giannis a little bit and get to know him. What kind of stood out to you about him?
I think first, I want to give credit to John and his staff because the environment and the platform that they gave me in the interview process really worked in my favor. Again, I was able to get on the board multiple times. I was able to break down film and edit and kind of give my analysis. And then they allowed me to meet with different personnel within the organization along with Giannis. But I can tell you, I left the conversation in awe. You're talking about a guy that is super passionate about bringing another championship to the city of Milwaukee. He was very humble. He was very hungry, and those are the traits that we are looking for with our players. I had the opportunity to reach out to all the players, and that was the common theme from the players, that they are hungry, all right? And that's kind of going to be our motto this year. We're going to put in the work. We're not going to take anything for granted, and, we're gearing up for April, May, and June.
Yeah, and Eric, just to the specific question with me, incredibly valuable. But it's not specific or unique to Giannis. I think we talk about that all the time when we make roster decisions, staffing decisions. We work really hard to be a collaborative organization, and we value our players' input. I hope these guys here that are here today would tell you that we try to communicate with them, get their opinions, and value their input in a lot of decisions that we make. So absolutely valuable, but not unique or specific to Giannis. It goes beyond that.
Dario Melendez, WISN. First off, congratulations. You mentioned your mentors, Thibs, Skiles, Nurse Donovan. What would you describe as your brand of basketball? Because you've learned from obviously a variety of different types of coaches.
I didn't catch your name.
Dario Melendez.
Dario. So you're right. I've been under a lot of great coaches, and you kind of take the good and kind of make it your own. So I'm fortunate I have a large pool to pull from, but defense wins, obviously. We're going to be a proactive defense, right? We're going to get after. We're going to pressure the ball. We're going to take our defense to the offense. We're not going to allow the offense to take their offense to us. We're going to pressure the ball, right? We're going to get turnovers. We're going to get out and run. We're also going to, make adjustments and throughout the game with our defense and switch up our defenses. I think offensively we want to take advantage of the special talent that's on this team, to create high percentage shots. Also, that means making teams pay for putting 2 or 3 bodies on the ball. So I think that's going to, work in our favor. So we're going to move the ball, a little bit more ball movement, body movement, get those high percentage shots in the paint, and then the threes will be there. We're not going to put any limits on the threes that we take, but they're going to be team threes. They're going to be rhythm threes. And then, I'm a big fan of getting on the offensive board. So we're going to try to put as many things in our favor. I'm just excited to get to work.
You guys okay with that?
And then, John, for you, you mentioned a couple reasons why you hired Adrian. What was the biggest reason, though? What really blew your mind? What separated him from everybody?
I mean, not to be too sentimental, Dario, but like you kind of saw it there, right? So I've told this story a couple times, even to our owners, and talking about this. We have this whole laid out process, like we have interview guide, question guide, and we're going to sit down with each candidate. We're going to ask this question. Milt's going to ask this question. Dave, Craig, bounce around the room. And 3 questions in, you could see this guy's itching to go to the board and to get to the film and to say I don't want to redo everything that you guys have built, but I can show you this, or I can show you that, and where we could be a little bit better and a little bit better here. And winning in the playoffs is a game of inches. It's about doing the little things a little bit better, more consistently. And his passion and his energy when it comes to coaching is evident. You can just, the rhythm in which he answered your question, like, that's who he is. This guy's a basketball coach. And so, I mean, again, there's a lot of specifics as to why, but it's evident that Adrian's ready for this job.
Hey, Coach. Greg Matzik from WTMJ Radio. Nice to meet you. Welcome back. A few years ago, you had a hand in stopping Giannis and the Bucks in their quest to win a championship. Defensive-minded principles. Do you bring more of that to the table? Are you steeped in defense? And John, as a follow-up to you, is that something that stood out? You have some gifted defensive players on your team, but it's a bit of a shift from an offensive-minded coach to more of a defensive-minded coach.
Well, Greg, that's a great question. I think being a defensive coach helps you on the offensive end, right? For me, coming in, being on the other side of, all the battles that we've had over the years against the Bucks, and I normally would do the scout, so I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before, trying to figure out ways to slow the Milwaukee Bucks down. But, you see nuances, right? So they're just patterns that I can pick up, and I know how teams going to play them because, I would incorporate the same schemes. So, again, being on the defensive end kind of lets you know the answers to the test, right? So when teams do this, we can do that. We'll have a calendar for everything. And then, it's going to take a village, right? We're going to, John and I have been working close about putting an outstanding staff together because these players deserve it. We got special players here, so we got so many great, conversations about bringing in the right people. And so we're excited about that. And, just when we talk about building our staff, I've looked at three things. One, I want high character people, and then two, I want high competent people, and then three, I want people that are creative. So we're excited about, some of the prospects that are coming along, but again, it's going to be a collective effort. I'm going to lean on a lot of different people, lean on John and his staff, and I think together we can do something special.
Greg, I mean, in fairness, I would say we've been incredibly successful defensively for the last 5 or 6 seasons. I think what stands out about Adrian's mindset, he's worked for so many different coaches. He has a lot of different ways to execute a game plan. He has a lot of different ways to defend, to play offense. So it wasn't specifically that he's this great defensive coach and we need to be significantly better defensively. It's that I think he's a great basketball coach, and I think that he'll be able to figure out the answers to the problems that come to you during the course of a regular season, and more importantly, April, May, and June, as he says, during the playoffs. So, yeah, he's very gifted defensively, but I think he's very capable of figuring out the other areas as well.
Welcome. I'm Lori Nickel with the
Lori.
Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
Yep.
Nice to meet you. Welcome back. I have a question for each of you. John, I think you mentioned that you looked at analytics for this hire. I know you won't tell us everything, but would you be willing to share one thing that's a coaching analytic? And Coach, for you, not to speak for Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I wanted to go back to that. Relationships are important to him. He puts his heart and soul into this. Can you give us an idea of something specific from your conversation where he asked for something of you and you were on the same page, or was there a moment that you clicked ideologically, or anything specific from that conversation? Thank you.
Do you want me?
I can go first. So, Lori, I think to answer your question, maybe just to be more general on coaches' analytics that we looked instead of specific to what stood out with us with Adrian, I think you want to see a history of either being a head coach or coaching in a scheme with variability, with being able to do things differently. Again, there's a lot of ways. I think you see the finals this year and the approach to finals. There's a lot of different ways not only to win in the playoffs, but to win game by game or series by series. And so, he's played for some of the most creative, I would say, kind of fearless, played for and coached for coaches, going all the way back to Nelly Ball, right, that he played for, and other coaches, and Scott Skiles, who I had a chance to work with, who's a brilliant basketball mind, Tom Thibodeau, who we mentioned, Billy Donovan, Nick Nurse. These guys have all approached the game in really unique, creative ways, and those show up in their analytical profiles. It could be their willingness to offensive rebound against a smaller opponent. It could be their willingness to switch or to double against an individual player who's having a great series. And so we really look for those trends that we think translate to winning in the playoffs. And there's a history of coaches that he's coached for and that he's played for in doing those things. And then he was able to articulate it. But that was kind of the neat marriage, is like he was coming to us and telling us about, like, when I guarded Kobe. He didn't tell us that he had 60 against him, but he's like, when I guarded Kobe, like, this is what I tried, right? And so, like, his ability to articulate these schemes and these different things was really pretty outstanding.
And Lori, out of respect to Giannis, I can't disclose a lot of the details of the conversation. I will say that, like I said before, you know, he's extremely humbled and extremely hungry to get to work. And I felt like it was we connected, and we have a lot of the similar values, and it's going to be fun. You know, it's going to be fun coaching him.
Adrian, it's Lance Allen from WTMJ in Milwaukee. Back here, I'm 5'11", so I'm short, sorry. Obviously, you're new to the head coaching game, and you mentioned it, April, May, June. How do you step into a role with a team that has championship as a goal and almost an expectation? And John, I guess I'd follow it up after Adrian speaks about just how do you help him along the way to get up to speed to where you want to go?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Lance Allen.
Lance, that's a great question. Again, I think for me, I've always been an active learner, and then just being under all the coaches and being in the NBA for so long, I prepared for this day. Obviously, sliding over that one seat is going to be a big difference, and I've already kind of experienced that in the first week. But again, it's going to take a village. You know, I'm surrounding myself with great people. Again, John and I are so collaborative. We're building a great staff. I know, like, I'm smart enough to know I don't have all the answers, but someone within that room will. And you know, I love to learn. I went back to school and got my PhD. So one thing I learned is to research. So if the answer is out there, and I just make a promise to you that I'm going to work my butt off from day one.
Yeah, and I think, Lance, like, the answer is to not talk about it, and he's just talked a ton about how we're going to put in the work. So I think day to day to put in the work, to focus on getting better every day, and to not talk about winning championships, but to do the right things to win it. And again, there's a ton of belief organizationally that Adrian's a guy to lead us in doing that.
Hey, Coach, welcome to Milwaukee. Lily Zhao, FOX6. Question for you. You know, Giannis is at the peak of his game. You mentioned he's very hungry, very humble. How do you make a player of his caliber even better?
That's a great question, Lily. Thank you for asking that. First of all, I want to say that we have just, you know, Giannis is arguably the best player in the world, but we have some extraordinary talent on this team as well. I just want to say that. You know, we see our players here today. You know, Chris, Drew, Brooke. Those guys are probably number ones on any other team. So I'm excited for just being a part of this team and this culture, and I'm excited to coach them all. But I think with Giannis, one of the things, you know, I'll draw on my experience. I've been fortunate to be on staff with MVPs, right? In Chicago, we had Derrick Rose. In OKC, we had Russell Westbrook. In Toronto, we had Kawhi Leonard, who was the MVP of the finals. And so there was, you know, one common theme, one common thread with those guys, and that was they want to grow. You know, they want to get better every day. They want to expand their game, and I think they're extremely coachable. And a lot of people do not realize that. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was doing the defense, and I was trying to incorporate some type of scheme, but it was going to require Kawhi Leonard to do a lot. You know, I had him just basically running around crazy, you know, multiple efforts on this drill, and I was hesitant to tell him that. So I went up to him, I said, Kawhi, I got this idea that I want to do, but it's going to require a lot of energy from you. And he said, listen, just tell me what you want to do, and I'll do it. You know, and so I was so amazed, but you'll be amazed also that players like Giannis, you know, two-time MVP, these guys want to be coached, right? And obviously I would sit down with him and ask him about his vision of how he wants to develop and how he wants to expand his game. But he's made it clear from day one that, you know, he's extremely open and on board, and I look forward to working with him.
Quick follow-up here. You mentioned going back to school, getting your PhD in organizational leadership. I guess, why was that important to you, and how do you think that helps being the next head coach in your new role here?
I think two things. One, my father passed in 2000. And like I said, he was a minister for 25 years, but he had always had a dream of pursuing his PhD. And obviously, you know, that fell short. So it was kind of sentimental for me to want to complete that for him in honor of him. And then I think secondly, again, when we talk about preparation and preparing for this day, I believe in holding myself to the same standards that we hold players. You know, we always tell the players to be excellent, to be unselfish, to be open, to be a great teammate. And I felt like I needed to, you know, be the change that I wanted to see. And that started with myself and looking in the mirror and finding ways to get better. I think leadership is so important today. I think the players deserve the best. It's a little different, right? When I was growing up, it was more command and control with our coaches. I don't even know my name for the first couple years of college because he called me other things. But, you know, and I'm joking, like PJ Carlesimo was the best. I learned so much from him. Okay, PJ? But, you know, today is different. I think the relationship piece is very important. I think building those relationships with players first. And then you can coach them. You can coach them hard. But I always say people don't know how much you care. People don't know how much you know. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so I think that's so important. That's something I try to live by as a coach, and it's served me well so far.
Steve McGargy, Associated Press. Congratulations. You talked about your path being an undrafted player who played several years in the league. At what point did you realize you wanted to eventually be a coach, and what made you decide that was the path you wanted post-playing career?
Stephen? That's another great question. So in 2008, right, I retired. But guys like me don't retire, right? Like, they just tell you, you know, you're done. So, but that year I was coaching and I was actually playing in Chicago. And I felt like I had a lot left in my tank, right? Like most veterans do. You know, they kind of sometimes misplace. But at the time we were playing all the younger guys, and again, like my dad taught me about doing the right thing, and you know, strong morals and conviction. And so I started to work with the younger guys, even though as a veteran I thought I had more. So Scott Skiles, you know, he saw me working with the guys, and he told me, he said, whenever you retire, I have a job for you. And he was true to his word. And you know, it's just another testament to my parents, just teach me to do the right thing. You know, I think when you're nice, you know, that's sometimes that goes understated. You know, when you treat people right, it goes a long way. And so I was fortunate when, and this is another cool story I got to tell you. But when I got traded to Milwaukee, I went through the entire training camp with the Bucks, and it was going into my 10th year, so I was extremely excited. I'm like, man, going undrafted, you know, 10 years, this is such a milestone. So we bus up to Chicago for our season opener, and at that time, to set the roster was at 3 p.m. So I'm looking at my watch, and I'm like, man, it's 2:59, you know. But my phone rang, and it was Scott Skiles. And he said, hey, you know, this hurts me to tell you this, but you know, I tried to fight for you, but we got to let you go. But why don't you join my staff? And, you know, I knew these jobs were hard to come by, so I took a couple days, and when the team returned to Milwaukee, I joined the staff. So, again, I've been so fortunate to finish my career and then start my coaching career within a matter of days, and, you know, I'm truly blessed.
Process process? Were y'all wide open from the start, or was it a deal where you were thinking you were going to get kind of a guy with head coaching experience and he changed your mind during the interview process?
I mean, Steve, some of both, honestly. I think sincerely very open with the process to really cast a wide net and try to narrow in on a group that we thought could do the job, and people could do the job and do it really, really well. I would tell you that there was probably a bias internally that made me think that they probably would have some head coaching experience in the package, but I didn't allow that a bias to overrun our process in any way. And what became clear to me and evident throughout the process, and I think something we've learned, and we'll see how it works out, is head coaching experience is one level of experience, but NBA experience is another incredibly valuable level of experience. And there's really no one that we spent time with that's more experienced than Adrian Griffin to be a head coach in the NBA. And I'll go back to what Milt kept saying. He's a head coach, he just hasn't had the opportunity. And that's really true for all of us in this room. Like, you don't become something until someone gives you that opportunity. And so he's got the opportunity now. It's an awesome opportunity, and we have full confidence in his ability to do it.
Stephanie Sutton, WISN TV.
I'm sorry.
Stephanie Sutton, WISN TV. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you.
Does this feel like a full circle moment for you? You started your coaching career here in Milwaukee. You're now the head coach. How does that feel? And what excites you most about being back in Milwaukee? Not just the team and the players. What excites you most?
Stephanie, you're right. This is just a dream come true. It is. You know, people say that all the time, but I started my coaching career here in Milwaukee, right, 15 years ago. And it's just fun. And, you know, it's a testament of just hard work and perseverance. Been truly blessed, and, you know, full circle, and I'm back here, and I'm standing up here with John. John and I, you know, we started together. And so, you know, just a strong connection from day one. And the city is great. It has expanded. It's grown since then. But one thing that has stayed the same is the fans. They were awesome then. You know, they cheered us on. And just, you know, from the outside coming in and all our battles over the years, coming in that arena, it's loud, it's energetic. It's, you know, Milwaukee has one of the best fan bases in the world. So I'm just excited to be a part of this family. And, you know, words really can't express how I feel right now. You know, it definitely, you know, I prepared for this for so long. And, you know, let's be real. You know, what first-time head coach gets to coach, you know, the Milwaukee Bucks, you know, with all the special talent on this team. So I'm extremely humbled.
And you know the Deer District is way cooler than Jurassic Park, right?
That's right. I agree with you. I'm a Milwaukee Buck now.
Adrian, in the front again. Just for you, you guys had a strong track record of development in Toronto. How do you try to balance the idea of developing young players, but then also living up to those championship expectations?
That's a great question. I think, again, I think it takes a village. Player development is so important to the lifeline of any organization and the team. You know, we have a great mixture of veteran guys. We have some great young guys. And you're right. You know, there's a lot of ways to develop. You know, there's at times we're going to have to find minutes for our younger guys. But we're going to put as many things in our favor as well. You know, starting from our summer workouts. We have training camp, we have pre and post practices to really pour into those guys. And we're going to find ways to, you know, develop them. I think we're going to have a great staff to work with them. But yes, you know, I've been in the league for a very long time. I know there's a balance, right? But just from my experiences, you know, to play deep in April, May, and June, you're going to have a great balance. You know, you're going to have some starters, and your bench has to be strong as well. So we're looking to develop everyone. You know, when you talk about player development, it's just, you know, it's not just about, you know, your role players, you know, your starters as well. You're always looking for ways to get better. It's so competitive in this league. And again, you want to put as many things in your favor, and, you know, I'll be leaning on John and his staff, and we're just going to work together to maximize our talent.
And then just what did it mean in the process for you?
Sorry, what does it mean in the process? Yeah, I think what he just said, I loved his holistic approach to development in that it's not just about developing young players or role players, it's developing the whole roster. It's about utilizing your entire roster throughout the course of the season to be best prepared for April, May, and June. There's an openness to how we structure our roster. In some ways, I think in our positions, you can build a roster that's kind of almost like an insurance policy, and so you have so much depth and so much talent that frankly can create frustration. You know, guys don't understand what their roles are, or they're not getting as much consistent opportunities you want. You can also structure a roster or build a roster where you have more opportunities for young players to play and grow and develop. And so it's a balance. And I think the fun thing is that it's a collaboration, and it's something that we have worked on, we'll continue to work on together to find the right balance. And we'll either be right or wrong, and we'll have to adjust and kind of move the goalposts a little bit as we go. But there's an absolute mindset and focus and energy toward developing the entire roster throughout the course of the season to be best prepared for the playoffs, and that's exciting.
John, Adrian, WRGN Radio and Civic Media. So the next step is the staff around him. What have you envisioned, Adrian, about what it takes to be, your assistant and the guys around you as you build this program?
Mike, well, I think I touched on it a little bit before, just the 3 C's that I'm looking for. Just the high character guys, highly competent, and being creative, thinking a little bit out of the box. And obviously, for me is, the smart thing to do is to surround myself with coaches who complement my leadership style. So, there's probably going to be a coach on there who's strong on the offensive end. I think special teams is very underrated. I think we're going to spend a lot of time, in the game management to make sure that, we put as many things in our favor. I can't tell you how many games that I've seen in the last 25 years that are lost, within the last 2 minutes of the game. So we're going to just have coaches that are highly competent in what they do. And I think having the experience is so important as well. Because we have some veterans, we have a good mixture of young guys, and we expect to go far, right? So having that experience is going to be critical.
One last question right here for you, Coach. Is there maybe something we didn't touch on that you want to share with Bucks fans? You talked about the passion they have, but they're also competitive, they want to win. So if you have an opportunity to speak to Bucks fans, what would you say?
I think that just overall, I'm just extremely humble. Just seeing everyone here today, and just, my wife is here, Kathy, my agent, familiar faces. It just felt like a perfect fit from day one, just working with John and everyone in the organization. I know half of those people in there already, so they've treated me like family, and I feel the same way about the city of Milwaukee. My wife and I have, we're walking the streets and people stop us all the time, and so you can see the excitement, and I just, making a vow to you guys that, I'm going to work extremely hard as I can, right? And I'm going to get the most out of our players. We're going to be a passionate group. We're going to play together, and we're going to play for the city. And that's my message.
Thank you, thank you. Competitive, character, competence, correct? 3 C's from Coach. John, anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. Thanks everybody for being here. Unbelievable turnout. Thank you. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Thank you.
Just some quick announcements. If you want pictures of Coach and General Manager John Horst, we'll do that right here now, and then we'll do some one-on-one interviews on the patio after that. We encourage everyone to head over to the Mecca for lunch, new summer menu. Thank you. Go Bucks.